The Sandy and Toddcast is a Mindgarden Media podcast in association with
Screw You, Todd
Productions.
Broadcasting from two very different yet magical places not found on any map. Get ready to discuss the strange, weird, ghostly, crazy, spooky, and odd things that take place around us each and every day. All while having a little bit of fun. This is the Sandy and Toddcast.
Welcome to the Sandy and Toddcast. She is Sandy.
He is Todd.
And here we go with episode 3 of season 14.
Season 14.
And just so everybody knows, and so everybody can understand the pain I go through. Everything was working fine, and then all of a sudden Sandy was having mic problems, which we've kind of battled for a little while with you, and we're not sure exactly what's going on. But so Sandy is not on her normal microphone today. She's speaking on her camera mic. So
like my webcam.
Yeah,
so
webcam.
I apologize in advance for the audio quality, guys. And until we can figure out what's going on. Todd, I really think that it all started when I got this new computer.
Yes, you're on Windows 11, right? You're on Windows 11.
Yes,
so
yes, and it's not compatible.
Well, I'll tell you this, that there was a big email that went out at work this past week, or this big message basically saying, if your Windows 11 says that there's an update, do not take it because it's messing with the audio cards. And right now there's not a fix for it.
No, and the problem is that I was perfectly happy with Windows 10 on my own old computer. It was just really, really slow.
Right.
And for the kind of work that I do in audio editing, production, it has to be a fast computer.
Right.
So I had no choice. I put off upgrading to Windows 11 for so long. And now with a new computer, when I bought it in the spring, I had zero choice and could not use Windows 10 anymore. It wasn't even on this computer. I got forced to use Windows 11, and I hate it. And so this, I think, is what gave birth to all of these audio problems. So, again, we may have to stumble along like this for a little bit, but I'm hoping Dave, whose birthday it is, by the way, today.
Happy birthday, Dave.
Yes, happy birthday to amazing, wonderful husband, Dave, best friend, Dave. And I love him so much. So anyways, he's also the only one who knows anything about tech in this household. So,
again,
which is kind of funny.
Hashtag poor Dave. I mean, it's his birthday, and he can't even have really a day off from technical issues.
No.
I saw your post for the cake that you guys got.
Yes.
To celebrate your birthday and his birthday, because your birthday is later this week.
Yeah, my birthday's Thursday, and it's funny because we sort of have this little tradition. Years ago, Dave DJ'd a wedding for a woman named Jess, who is wonderful, and I'm going to put her Facebook page in the notes.
Cool.
Because if you are local or somewhat local to Jess in New York, she's in Oneonta, but she goes as far north as Boonville, that whole central New York area. Probably near Albany, all that. She does amazing work. So anyways, she has been doing our cakes for us for several years now. Well, really, it's my cake because Dave doesn't eat a lot of cake. But it's the only time every year that I just go crazy and eat cake, which is one of my favorite things in the world, cake and ice cream. So every year I send her some inspirational cake pictures of what I want. And most years it's like, because I love macarons, so every year it's like cakes that have macarons on them, but it's a different color palette. It might be greens, it might be rose colored, it might be purple, whatever. And so this year I said, because we came off such an amazing 2024 baseball season with the New York Mets, I said, Dave, let's do it for both of us this year, and let's get a Mets themed cake. So Jess is absolutely amazing. We got the cake yesterday, and it's all orange, white, and blue. The macarons are like the baseballs. They're like a royal blue. And then she didn't know this, but I love rock candy. Remember, this is throwback to when we were kids, Todd.
Yep.
But remember the rock candy that you could get on a stick? Well, she put rock candy, orange and blue rock candy all over it with the sticks that look like bats. Amazing.
That's awesome. I like that.
I will put a picture in our group, in our Stay Weirdos group for you guys to see, because it is so freaking cool. And funny enough, a lot of the people in our Stay Weirdos group are now friends of mine on Facebook anyways, my personal account, because we've all gotten to know each other now through the group and through the podcast. So a lot of people so they may have already seen it, but anybody who's not my personal friend on Facebook, I'm going to put a picture up, but it was just wonderful.
And if you know
I've already had 2 pieces.
If you know anything about Sandy, she gets very excited for certain things, and that thing could be next week. That thing could be 6 months from now. That thing could be 18 years from now. Yep. But certain things always get Sandy excited, and her yearly birthday cake. I mean, how long have we known each other? How many years?
Like 5 years.
Okay. So in 5 years, I will tell you, if somebody came to me and said, name something Sandy gets excited about, I would buzz in on this game show and I would say her birthday cake every year. It's like this big thing for you.
It is for me because being diabetic, I try as best as I can, even though I'm fat. I try as best as I can I am as best as I can to eat as healthy as possible. Our household is pretty healthy. Just Saturday to celebrate our birthdays. We used to go out for our birthdays, but now with Spike, who's like having a toddler, we don't go out to eat as much.
Right.
So we did takeout from Texas Roadhouse. And I could have had anything I wanted on my birthday because I just got my blood work back. I have to see my endocrinologist tomorrow. I see him every 3 months. Just got my blood work back. Across the board, everything was excellent. Not one issue across the board. So I can occasionally splurge if I want. And to me, splurging is more like another thing I get excited about, the once a year Chinese food on Christmas.
Right.
Or a pizza. Once a month, we might order pizza. I have a slice of pizza and a salad. But I could have anything I wanted. I got herb-crusted chicken, green beans, and a Caesar salad, and I had one of those amazing rolls from Texas Roadhouse with the cinnamon butter.
Yeah.
That was my pigging out. So, there's some things in life that I save up for special occasions. These remind me, my mother used to say, I'd give my mother like a Michael Kors purse or a Coach purse that was in beautiful condition. I just had a lot of them, and I would give her one.
Right.
And I'd say, Mom, why are you carrying that old purse? And she'd say, I'm saving it for a good occasion. And I said, there's no better good occasion than right now, Mom. Stop it. Wear it. Do it. But that was my mom. So anyways, so you're right. I'm right now, my big thing is the traveling that we're going to do this summer. The different places we're going to go, and just really looking forward to that, so
yeah,
especially with the state of the world today, you try to find the really positive things that you can and get through that.
It's becoming more and more difficult. When I was speaking about the trip earlier this week. And somebody said, well, are you going to fly? And I said, absolutely not. I'm not going anywhere near a plane
no.
Anymore.
It's funny because Dave and I have flown dozens and probably dozens of times over the years. There have been years where we've flown twice. We've done 2 vacations in a year.
Sure.
Usually we used to go every late November, early December. We do a vacation, like a 4 or 5 days down in the South somewhere. We take bigger vacations flying out west, things like that. And we stopped doing that a handful of years ago. I think the last time that we flew was coming out to see you the second time when we did Door County. And as much as I actually love flying, I enjoy the flying process, I'm so thankful that we're not flying.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of it has to do with Spike, our dog Spike, because I just don't trust him with anyone. And when my mom passed, that was sort of, and my father is 76 years old. He can't really take him for one night. You know, he babysits him, but it's only for a handful of hours at a time.
Right.
I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving him. So we just haven't flown. But to your point, we were just talking the other night about how nice it is to be able to drive to locations and see places that are a bit closer to us.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's a longer drive than we're used to, you know. And we've driven places. We've driven to Maine several times, Massachusetts, Cape Cod. But it's just right now, I would not be flying. I just am not comfortable with that thought. You know, as much as I love it, I would not be. And I don't know if or when we'll fly again.
Yeah, I'm not a big flying fan. It's not that I'm afraid about going up in the air. I just don't like all the stress about, especially now, even with things, not just today, but probably in the last, since COVID, flights have been delayed left and right and canceled and moved. And I mean, it's really been a hodgepodge of crap for a while. And I get stressed out even when things are good for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you do have to be able to tuck and roll and change your plans. And I don't want to have to do that. So
I don't either. I agree with you. Well, look at what happened last time we were coming out to Oshkosh.
Yeah.
And our plane got delayed. And everybody knows that in Chicago at O'Hare, you need a lot of time to connect. You cannot just get off the plane and 5 minutes later be at the next gate.
Right.
If it's too close, you're going to miss your flight. So we ended up having to stay in Chicago, which in and of itself was a nightmarish story that maybe we talked about previously. But we ended up having to stay in Chicago for the night and rent a car instead of flying from Chicago to Appleton like we had originally planned on doing. And it cost us extra money. Now, the good thing was the insurance that we had purchased, we were smart enough to purchase, actually reimbursed us most of that money. But it's not fun when you're sitting in the car rental place at Chicago O'Hare at 1:00 in the morning after fighting with the airlines for a couple hours to try and figure out where the frig your luggage was.
Yeah.
And not knowing if you're going to have to sleep on the seats for the night because you can't get a rental car until the next morning and you don't have a hotel. It was just nightmarish. I don't want to go through that.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with that, you know?
Right.
So I agree with you. So yeah. So I think you're about, what is
12.
You're driving, like 12? Actually, I think the longest we ever did was 8. You can do it. I mean, it's not hard.
I've done that before and I don't mind it. I drive every day. I put 2 hours on the road every day for work. It's nothing. And, you know, for me, the plan will be probably to leave at about 3 or 4 in the morning because I'm normally up anyway, get a head start on the drive, arrive sometime early afternoon and be able to get into a hotel or whatever that looks like at that point.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. And there's plenty of things to see.
Oh, there is.
So I'm all right with it.
It's road tripping. It's road tripping.
Yep.
You know, it's like us. I mean, now from us, ironically enough, the Airbnb we're going to be at is about 10 minutes outside of Gettysburg. And we previously have stayed at the Cashtown Inn. We've tried everything there. We stayed at the Cashtown Inn, the infamous Cashtown Inn, the first time. Second time, we hauled our camper down there and we camped for a week at a great campground. It was really cool. Although that was the year that the cicadas were out and you couldn't even hear yourself think. And then a couple of years ago when we were there, we stayed at a hotel, which I will recommend to you off the show, reserving rooms there because they are phenomenal. And they're about 5-10 minutes outside of town and it's perfect. The whole town of Gettysburg is basically built off of spokes, like a wheel. So there's all different routes to get to different places. So we're about 10 minutes out. We're about 5 hours and 15 minutes plus stopping for bathroom and lunch. So we should get down there about 3 o'clock, and we'll have a whole 2 full days, and then we'll have however long we want to take on Sunday.
Right.
And we're going to go to Centralia, so that's cool. So those are the things that I'm looking forward to right now, because there's just too much going on. And we kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. It's a very, I don't think it's an easy time for anyone. So I don't think I'm trying to stay as bipartisan as I can with everything, because this isn't really, it is a political debacle, but it's also a personal thing with people involved, with feelings and emotions. And
well, believe it or not, there are people that are okay with everything that's going on right now.
Yes, unfortunately there are. And I just can't help. I sort of put it into a few categories. One category is people like you and I who, and this isn't ego in any way, but we've traveled, we've seen the world, we've seen the way that things work. We understand the way things work. We have common sense. We think ahead. And so we sort of have an idea of what's actually going on. It's through life experience things. Then you have the people who are following this agenda because, and I'm not going to say because they don't know any better, but I think deep down they know better. But it's all about, I'm struggling in the moment. And so what can I hang on to? What can I believe in the moment that will get me through this? And for whatever reason it is. And then you've got the people who don't care because it's all about them. It's all about themselves. So you've got two groups of people who are holding on to what's happening and okay with it. One thinks it's going to be okay in the end. The other one doesn't care whether it's okay or not because it's self-gratifying at this point in their life. And then you've got people like you and I who know what's going to happen. We understand it. We can see it coming, and we feel hopeless and helpless. We feel like no matter what we do, we can't fix it. And it's a scary time. I do think we can fix it. I don't think it's too late, but I think it's going to take a lot of effort. Are we recording?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's going to take a lot of...
Why did you ask?
Because my thing popped up and says recording hasn't started.
Oh, we're not recording the video.
Oh, okay. Okay. But that brings me to a thought that I've been thinking about with you and people like you and I, or people in general. What about empaths? What about people who naturally take on the emotions and feelings of others? And we've talked about this so many times, and sometimes it's easier said than done. We've tried to come up with new ways to try and separate yourself, to try to figure out what is yours and what belongs to other people. It reminds me of the Ukraine war, when the war started in the Ukraine. And you and I talked about this, that I was having a really rough time because I was such a mess between my own fear of what was going on and seeing things coming and what I was taking on from the world at large. And it's along those lines right now, but I have to be honest, Todd, and say I'm scared because I don't know what's mine and what's not mine at this point. I can't separate them right now, and it's scaring me. It's scaring me because I feel like not me anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like I've lost who I am right now. And I'm struggling to try and separate them, but I can't separate them if I don't know what's mine and what's not mine. So, what do I think I should do? What do I think everybody should do? Well, I think that right now, until we know the big picture. We know what's going to come if it's not stopped. But we don't know the day-to-day.
Yep.
So I think that my thought is, and I've used this analogy a million times, everybody can say it with me, but when you're on an airplane, speaking of airplanes, and the steward or stewardess tells you the whole spiel about, safety procedures, and she says, or he says, if there's no oxygen in the mask drop down, put your mask on first so that you can help others. And I think we're at a point where that is probably more pertinent to what's going on currently than ever before. I want everybody, regardless of whether you consider yourself an empath or not, I want you to remember that you have the power to fight. But if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help yourself and you can't help others. So I want you to remember that you have to take care of yourself first. Make sure that you're okay. Because if you're not okay, you can't make the change. You can't do the things that are so important that you need to be okay to do them. We need to stand up together, but we can't do it if we're not okay. So I want you to remember that. Take the time to make sure you're okay, whatever that means for you, whether it's getting out in nature, whether it's getting on the treadmill more often, whether it's meditation, whatever that happens to be for you, make sure that you're okay so that you can help yourself and the people that you care about and complete strangers, because we all need each other right now, because this is a scary time. In just under 2 weeks, everything has changed. People who are depending on things to live their lives are being threatened. And this is a scary time. So make sure that you put that oxygen mask on first so that you can help everybody, including yourself. And that's what I'm trying to do now, because I just don't know what's going to happen. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
So we'll all be okay if we stick together and we fight it, but we have to make sure that we're taking care of us first. It's important.
So I'll just come on the backside of that and just say that whether you're an empath or not, and obviously we've talked many times about how I am, it's very hard to put yourself first. And I don't know that I can necessarily take your advice because I'm not good at that. But also, the other thing I'm not good at is having to fight.
We've never really had to. Not like that.
Well, I mean...
Not like this. Not in our generation.
Yes and no. I mean, I think that I think that some of us didn't need to fight. But
I agree. I agree. You're right.
But I don't want to have to do that because that takes too much courage and too much energy, which I do not have. I'm not a courageous person in any way, shape, or form. And that's based on things that have happened in my life, etc. So I have to depend on those who do have the strength and the knowledge and support them. And they are the fighters that I will support. It's just like, folks that never were able to go to war, right? Hopefully you supported the side that you had to support. But if you're not strong enough to do it yourself, it's understandable. Right. But then support those who can do it. And whether that is just being there or monetarily supporting the organizations that will fight for not only ourselves, but marginalized people in our country.
And you said it better than I did, because That's the best point of all. You know how in the military, and I'm not trying to compare the military in any way, but in the military, there's different levels, different jobs, but they all work together to get the job done. And that's what is so important, is that if you can't fight in one way, fight in a different way.
Yeah.
Find what your way is. You know, it could be an email to your representative, Republican or Democrat, but it could be independent. It could be an email or an email a day or whatever it is that you can do. Figure out what you can do, because we can all do something. And you don't have to be the freedom fighter, but you can do something to support the freedom fighters, if that makes sense. So I agree with you 150%. Do something. Just do something. But you can't do it until you start making sure that you're okay, because your strength is what guides you. Your strength is what guides you. So that's all. That's all. Just make sure, you know, put the mask on and the oxygen mask and take care of you.
And also, if you're not okay, if you are feeling stressed, if you are feeling whatever that is, do what you need to do. Reach out. There are organizations out there to help, and you just need to find them. And again, if you're typically the one that's helping everybody else out, but right now you're just not able to get past how this is affecting you, as Sandy said, take care of yourself, support the things that you need to support, and we'll see how things are. And, you know,
well, we can only hope that things, I had to tell my niece the other day that things are probably going to get much worse before we can even think about them getting better.
Yeah.
You know, and how do you tell an 18-year-old that? But I can't lie to her. I can't tell her everything's fine, because it's not. So it broke my heart to even have to say that to an 18-year-old, you know?
Well, listen, I don't want to have to tell a 55-year-old or 65-year-old that either, because those people, and I'm in that group, or will be in a couple of days.
Yep. Oh, that's right. You're a year older than me.
We've been through stuff already, and we thought we were kind of beyond some of the bullshit. And and obviously we're not. So be there for one another the best you can. Yes. But definitely be there for yourself. And again, there is nothing wrong with finding help for yourself.
Oh my gosh, no. You know, even if you just have to message me and say, look, I just need somebody to be able to message once a day and say, I'm doing okay today. Or give me something positive today. I am that person. So I will be that person.
In just scrolling yesterday, I saw something. I don't know who it was. I don't know the situation, but I thought it was very, very interesting. And the story was, this guy was telling a story about how he had a very good friend, and you know, they weren't together. They didn't live in the same town, and they didn't necessarily talk every day. But what he found out was that it takes 8 minutes for someone who's going through something right now, 8 minutes of communication with another individual. Not that the problem is solved, but that they feel like someone is listening and cares about their situation. And he calls it the 8-minute rule. And so if you reach out to a friend, right, and you're one of the, you're kind of like me, where you're like, hey, what's going on? And they say, hey, how you doing? The first response is, oh, I'm okay, right? And deep down, maybe you're not. So he and this friend who had reached out, and she had contacted him and said, hey, I did try to reach out to you. I needed help that day. I needed some contact communication. He said, these where you're like, hey, how's your day going? She's like, yes. He goes, we need to have a code. And that is the code that he now uses with his friends is, hey, can you spare 8 minutes?
Yes.
If that's how you start the conversation, then you know this person needs you. You can leave a meeting for 8 minutes. You can pull over on the side of the road and chat for 8 minutes. You can walk away from your desk. 8 minutes is not a lot of time.
Right.
And if we start our communication with, hey, do you got 8 minutes? That should be a signal to the person you're reaching out to that you really need to have some contact right now.
Yeah, I love that idea. Do you think, excuse me, do you think, and I'm just talking out loud, maybe I should
I thought you were going to say I'm just talking out my ass, but okay.
Well, I do that too. No, I'm wondering if I should put up a poll in our group of maybe starting a chat group of people who want to just post a positive message every day.
Okay.
Either something good that happened in their life or something they wish for others. Just something positive to sort of give us that voice that we still have each other. So maybe I'll put a poll up in our group and see what everybody thinks, and maybe we'll start one of those. That was just off the top of my head, but it's just so important right now. I've never lived through this before. You know, I was watching Trudeau speak to Canadians last night about what's going on now with the tariffs and stuff. And I looked at Dave and I said, in our lifetime, we have never been, in our adult lifetime, because obviously when you're a child, you're not paying as much attention. But in our adult lifetime, we have never been through something like this before. We've heard about it on other continents,
right,
in other countries, but we've never experienced this before ourselves. Just that in and of itself is mind-blowing and scary and stressful.
Yep.
Something new. So take care of yourself. Take care of each other. If you need somebody to talk to, I'm always here. You can email us. You know, all the stuff is in the notes every week. You can message us in the group. And if we can give you some positivity, we sure as heck will. So, with that being said, and let me just tell you a quick story about why we weren't on the air last week. Because has anyone ever had this occur? I go in for my colonoscopy consultation. Now, I should have I didn't even know that the age was 45. I didn't even know it got changed to 45. My doctor never told me. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll get my colonoscopy, as my father calls it, a colonostomy, which is two totally different things. And I go in 2020, but of course, when I turned 50, 2021, and everything shut down because of COVID. For like a year and a half, everything was basically shut down or moving at snail's pace. So fast forward to now, I'm just getting a colonoscopy consultation. A lot of stuff going on in between there with apparently during COVID, Todd, tons of gastro doctors retired. So there's a shortage of doctors that can do colonoscopies now. So it's like backed up forever, no pun intended. So I finally go in for my colonoscopy consultation and I get a nurse practitioner and we have the consultation. It's great. And she goes to listen to my heart and she says, "Do you have heart problems?" And I said, "No." Now, mind you, I had just seen my endocrinologist in November and my primary in October. They both listened to my heart, didn't have any issues. I don't have any issues. So she says, "Well, I hear a clicking sound in your heart." And I'm like, "What?" Totally out of left field. I'm talking about the other end of my body. She's talking about my heart. Now there's a clicking. I'm like, "What?" She says, "You don't have any heart issues?" I said, "No." She says, "When did you have the last EKG?" And I said, 2 years ago when I got my gallbladder out. I can't believe it's been 2 years already. And she says, "And your pulse is 109. And I'm thinking to myself, of course it is. You just told me I have heart problems. I have a clicking in my heart. Why wouldn't my pulse go crazy? So she sent me, this was on a Thursday, and my anxiety is through the roof at this point. She sends me for an EKG on Friday. I go for the EKG. Now I have to wait the entire weekend to get the results, which for someone like me with such anxiety and fear of everything, I'm dying. Like, I'm literally, Todd, I didn't even think about recording until about 5 p.m. on Sunday. And by then I was like, I just can't deal with it. Well, long story short, comes back on Monday, normal. So I go out now, and instead of a wrist blood pressure, now I'm terrified. I'm like, what is wrong with me? The EKG came back normal. How could she hear the clicking? Well, lo and behold, stress can do that to you too. And when I go to new doctors, my normal doctor team, I'm fine with. Even, the once a years, I'm fine with because I know what to expect. But when I go to a new doctor, I tend to have that white coat syndrome a little bit. And so come to find out, stress can cause your heartbeat to be magnified and things like that. So who knows what she heard? I have no idea, but my blood pressure is not anything crazy or anything like that. And so I have no idea. So that's why I didn't record last week, because I was in a state of shock and terror. But come to find out, everything's okay. Everything's okay.
So this just goes back to hashtag poor Dave on his birthday.
Oh my gosh. Poor Dave, you're right. He had to listen to me be terrified for 4 days until I got the results of that EKG. We need
to set up a GoFundMe just so that Dave can afford to get away every once in a while.
I know.
All right.
Well, we've got some stuff for this week. So, okay, last thing before we go, I just wanted to read one more story that I saw from that group that I was telling everybody about last time called The Unexplained. Thought this was interesting, and this is something to think about. And next time we have an episode, we'll discuss it. Because, Todd, I want you to think this over, too, and let me know your thoughts, okay? And we'll leave it with this. This woman says, it's 11:57 p.m. My 5-year-old is asleep in the bedroom. I know she is because I can hear her snoring. I just walked past the kitchen doorway and saw her in there digging through the snack drawer. I didn't think anything of it because I've seen her in there so many times. I kept walking into the living room. I stopped and turned around to go back to the kitchen because what the heck is she doing up so late? Before I even get to look around the corner, I hear her snoring coming from the bedroom. I froze in place for a second and I heard the drawer close. I quickly look, but nobody is in the kitchen. I speed walk back to the bedroom and she's sound asleep. The scariest part is when I closed the bedroom door and turned to go back down the hall, I saw her nightgown for a split second, like she was running into the living room to avoid being seen. Now I'm laying in bed next to her, scared to death to look in the living room.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, that's interesting. And I will say this, that is not the first story like that I've ever heard. Not just in this group, but in general. So I want everybody to think about what they think could have happened, and we'll discuss that on the next episode.
All right.
Because I certainly have my ideas, but there are all kinds of different things and possibilities that I've heard come from people who have heard stories like these. All right?
All right.
So let's see.
Sounds good. So whether that's next week or the following week or...
Let's hope I don't have any more heart issues in between now and then.
That would be nice.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Until our next episode, I'll just say bye.
Bye.
We make podcasting easy. Mindgarden Media can get you going on your very own podcast. With many years in the broadcast and audio industry, Mindgarden Media can edit, fully produce, and provide all the web distribution services. We're podcasters too, so we'll guide you every step of the way to a professional-sounding podcast production. For information, email the Mindgarden Media at gmail.com, the Mindgarden Media at gmail.com, or check us out on Facebook.